Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I thought I would try out some markers and colored pencil work on a sketch that I've been saving for quite a while. I haven't done a whole lot of marker work in the past, but I was inspired by an artist that's on Instagram and here on YouTube also named Rouleau, I think. It's French. I took Spanish in high school, so I don't know how exactly to pronounce it, but I love her work. She does really cute, spooky things. I'll try if I can to link her somewhere in this video, but she inspires me all the time to create marker stuff. But this is I've done some little practice runs of markers, but this is really my first go at it. So I was a little nervous, a little apprehensive of how it was going to turn out. And either through procrastination or preparation, I was like, let me block out some colors, see, like, I have my little color swatches that I made when I got the pack of markers. These are also Ohuhu markers. They're a little bit cheaper than the Copics that you can buy, but they seem like good quality. It's what Em uses, so I was like, well, she likes them, so I'll give them a try. I trust her opinion. So here I'm just trying out some swatches, trying to use my reference. I found this pretty little prickly pear reference photo. I'm trying to kind of match up the colors of the markers to different areas in it and try to figure out some blending, because I've tried one little sketch before this, and this is a full portrait piece that I haven't done before in markers, so wanted to see if I could figure out how to do it. So here I'm just trying out a couple of different colors. I tried this Coralescence, which is really bright. I don't usually work in such bright colors. I like a lot of black and white type stuff, but lately I've just been gravitating towards making everything as rainbowy as I possibly can. And we also have a little bit of light lavender, some dark orchid, some amethyst. I'm just labeling everything because my brain isn't great at remembering things in general. If I don't label it, I will immediately forget what these colors are and which swatch goes with which pen. And I just wanted to kind of see how they worked together, what different color combinations I might want to use in different areas. My whole plan with this was to kind of do the entire sketch as if she was a prickly pear and that it's like coming out of her head. So here I'm taking one of those kneaded erasers that are really gummy and flexible, and you kind of squish them to be able to clear the lead out of it. And I'm just rolling it all over the page here, trying to get up all of the excess lead that's left here to make it as faint as possible. I still want to be able to see the lines. I just want it to be very faint. And this is my first attempt at going in with the markers. I was trying to kind of block it in like how it was in the picture. I haven't watched any videos or read anything about how to blend these markers. I'm trying to just go off of my instincts and trial and error and see what comes out. So I'm just kind of blocking them in of where the color is in the photo, and then going around it with other colors, doing a little bit of an outline to see how it comes out. And then here I'm kind of going over it in a lighter color to try to force it to blend together more, because it's so patchy, and already at this point I'm like, oh no, what have I done? This isn't up to par with, I usually do painting and watercolor and that kind of stuff, and you know, paints blend together really well, but markers don't do that. But I've always wanted to use markers, and I am determined to figure out how these alcohol markers blend together. So then I tried kind of doing a light layer initially, going over it with a darker color to see if that helped with the blending. That did help quite a bit. And then doing an outline, and I think later I go back and do another wash of a light color to try to blend everything together. It seems like with the alcohol markers, you have to really saturate the paper and the fibers in the paper to get it to blend the colors together like you would paint in that kind of medium. But at this point, I haven't really gotten the hang of doing that yet. And then I'm also like, I kind of had the idea of, well, there's the little spines throughout the prickly pear. Maybe I should kind of do it more splotchy to leave space for the spines. This section really shows that. I do kind of a wash over the whole thing to get it wet. Like, let me try that and see how it works. And then I go over with a darker color and leave little spaces for the spine. So every one of these is kind of unique and has a different technique, which isn't maybe the best idea for it. I clearly wasn't sure what I was doing here, but I'm just here to experiment, try different things, see which one of the prickly pear paddles turns out the best, and then maybe in the future if I do more cactus things, I'll just stick with that method instead, because it's like, well, this one turned out well, so I'll just continue to use that. So I'm kind of sticking with that method of let me put down one full layer and then try splotching over some colors to try to create some type of blending aspect. So in this one, I'm trying a little bit of a different paddle texture technique with putting the shadow bits underneath the spines to try to emphasize that instead. Maybe that will turn out better or blend better, add different textures and dimension to it. But I'm really just winging it, which is why I started with the prickly pear section. I had like 10, 15 different little paddles to try out different techniques with, partially because I was procrastinating working on the actual face of the portrait. But I also wanted time to get more accustomed with the markers, figure out some sort of technique before I went in to the face, which is the most important part of this piece. And here we go. So I kind of skipped ahead a little bit here. I finished all the other paddles. You can see I did a lot of different types of techniques trying to figure out something. Finished those, is like, okay, now I got to start on the face. So my idea is to have like the lime color go across the middle section of her face and then blend out into pinks for the rest of her face to kind of give her a prickly pear look. Especially the prickly pears, like a lot of them are green, but in the desert Southwest, they will turn this like purpley pink green color, like the reference photo earlier in the video. And they look really pretty, which is my whole inspiration for this, is just like how bright their colors are and how unique they look compared to plants in like other places. So here I did a wash of this like light peach color and then started going over it with some darker colors, trying to add dimension around it, make that green a little bit darker, add in some shadows where they would normally be on the face with a little bit of this peach color. And then starting to color in the neck as well. I was trying to kind of keep the colors similar throughout because it would be her skin tone and that would make sense. But I think I got the shading a little bit wonky. And then I always save the eyes for last, partially because they're one of my favorite parts to do. But I kind of need to have the skin tone figured out before I figure out what color I want to do their eyes. And here I was kind of doing like a half pink, half purple, like fade situation. I used the pink color, which is shadow pink in the Ohuhu markers to blend the purple and pink together, which worked pretty well for that. That was probably the best blending aspect in this entire piece. And then here I'm just taking a colorless blender to try to blend the sections together, but it's still so patchy. And at this point I was like, oh no, I don't like this. This is not great, but I started recording a video. I want to share this. I want to share my progress, even if it turns out completely awful. I have to finish this. So I keep going. Trying to add some shading, some dimension to separate the forms out. I was at this point planning to go back over it in colored pencils. And so I was trying to just mostly create a base layer so that the colored pencils aren't patchy, because that's the annoying thing with colored pencils, for me at least, is that they always end up patchy compared to like paints, because paints are opaque, and colored pencils, like, you have to do so many layers to get them that way. I was hoping that the markers would give me a shortcut to being able to have the colored pencils be as smooth as I want them to be. So at this point, that's what I was really banking on, that maybe colored pencils will help this along more than it currently looks like right now. I was really happy with the eyes, though. Those blended way better than probably anything else. And it could be because I had so much practice up at this point. I'm probably a good hour or two into this process. And now I'm starting on the hair. I decided to go light to dark and see if that would help with the blending. This is a very bright celery yellow, which has kind of a green tone to it, which is kind of nice. And then I go over it with the shadow pink to try to block in all the little curls and create some different shapes. I had an initial idea to kind of do it like an abstract drawing, where you have a lot of different line weights and textures and stuff like that. So that was why I had every section separated out. So I outlined it in the shadow pink and then went back in with the celery yellow. And then more shadow pink on top of it to try to blend the two together. Still very streaky though. So I ended the video, I finished with the marker portion, and then the next day or a couple days later or something, I let it sit, and I was not a fan of the marker piece. And it's like, I really want to finish this though. But at this point, I wasn't confident that I was even going to post it because it just didn't look how I wanted to. I was like, okay, let me just sit at my dining room table and try to figure out some blending for the prickly pear paddles on top with the colored pencils. And if I can get it to look okay enough, then maybe I'll share it and talk through my process and do that. I got a couple paddles in and it's like, oh wow, this already looks so much better. I use this true green color, I think it is, and the blue paddles, and that really made it pop out a lot more. I used a lot of like a yellow, canary yellow color and a Spanish orange color. That made it look a lot better. And then I started working on the hair. It's like, okay, I can film this. I can post it. It'll be okay. So here I'm adding a lot more dimension with the different colors. This colored pencil is called mulberry, which is really nice for adding dimension and shading. I end up using it a lot. It might be my new favorite color in this pack. So I use it for the outline in the hair. I end up using it for outlines for pretty much everything. And I usually use black for a lot of my outlines, but using just a darker color looks so much nicer. And I might just continue to do that. So here I'm using this is just pink. It's well used because I use it in a lot of different things, especially with a lot of my sketches. I'm using this to kind of blend out some of the areas. The colored pencil on top of the marker is helping this blend so much better than just the marker alone. I feel like these two materials were really made for each other, and you kind of need both to make them really look good. But maybe if I had more time and expertise with the markers, I could do just as good of a job with those. So here I'm going over the green part with this canary yellow, really bright color to try to add some highlights and lift it a bit. Try to kind of blend it out into the marker shading a little, add some shading to around the eyes. Define that brow bone a little bit more. And then kind of blend it out into the pink area as well. And then I went in with this true green color, which is a fairly bright green. And I feel like that really helped with the shading. At the end of the day of markers, when I usually leave my artwork out to look at it as I go by and let my brain think about how it's looking, what I could improve on, what I could do to help move it forward, and it just gives my brain more time to adjust to things. But every time I walked by the marker piece before I got to the colored pencil bit, it just reminded me of old Greg. And I think that is part, which clearly it does not look like that now, but that was, I think, part of the reason I was so apprehensive to continue working on it, because I was like, oh no, it looks like old Greg. I can't do this. But now she doesn't look like old Greg, and I'm very happy with that. So here I'm going in with the mulberry again. Love the color. Doing the eyelashes and that. It's like a perfect blend of pink and purple, and with all the pink and purple that's in this, and the blues and the greens, I think it just works so well. And a lot of my other pieces up until this point, I haven't really historically been a layers kind of person to really sit there and like add like one color over another, because probably partially because I've mostly painted most of my adult artistic life. So you just blend the colors together. You don't have to manually go in one with one after another with different colors to build up and create layers unless it's like a mixed media piece. But I was really enjoying the process of this. And I think I'm just going to continue to practice it with some of my other sketchbook pieces, in addition to working on some more digital items. I sharpened this mulberry pencil so much throughout the process of this. I probably lost like a good inch of it just because I used this color so extensively. And now this is how I'm doing the hair. This is kind of the abstract design that I was referencing earlier. They look like those like fluid drawings, which I really like how those weave in and out of each other. It's just very appealing to me. And I feel like adding the mulberry on top of the layers of the yellow and the pink that were already there just really defined it really well and made it come together so much nicer than I had expected it to in the beginning. So I definitely, if I do more pink and yellow, I'll definitely use this mulberry color again. That was a little bit of real time, so you can kind of see how extensive this process took. Sometimes I get a little frustrated with how long artwork takes to make, and I enjoy the process of making art. Like, that's why I do it. But sometimes it's like, my God, this takes so long to do. And I'm just, I think, so excited to see the final piece that I get impatient with how long the process takes, if that makes sense. And I just want it to be done so that I can see it being done and pretty. And whenever I do hair lately, I love to add these little like additional tendrils of like messy hair bits. I feel like that always kind of pulls it together more, doesn't make it look so like she's wearing a wig kind of situation. And now that the face is done, the hair is done, I can go in and start redefining these little prickly pear spines. I start with this true green color, I believe, or this might be apple green, honestly. And just kind of blocking everything out. And then guess what? I eventually go back over it with mulberry because I can't get enough of the color, apparently. I'm doing all the other spines on top of her head in mulberry because I feel like that goes the best. And especially for the ones where they're overlapping, it's going to be the darkest color that I'm using to create the most dimension. And now, like, you can't really see it with the marker and then the colored pencil blended on top of it, the little like holes for where the spines would be. So I'm just going back over and pulling those out again. And adding a little bit of shading to them. I could have added spines to the inside of them also, but I felt like it would be too busy. I wanted to show you guys how I get the ball rolling with these gel pens, because otherwise if you just start without doing a little pre-work for them, they just don't even work. For whatever reason. I love them to a point, but I kind of wish at this point especially I just had a tiny little acrylic marker to just go in and dot. I think it would be a lot faster and it would be a lot more opaque. Thank you so much for watching up until this point. I know this was a longer video than normal, so I really appreciate you being here. Before we go to the reveal to see the portrait and all of its wonderful, pretty glory, I realized while doing the editing for this that I neglected to talk about my new Ko-Fi page. I just launched it about a week ago or so. I have a couple of commission options up there, or really just one at the moment, to do some personal portraits in different colors if you're into that kind of thing. So if you are interested, they're $20 for a little portrait commission piece. They're 8x10s. They come in a digital format, and there's also a tip jar. If you find this video helpful at all and useful, I'd really appreciate it. I'm hoping to expand in the future and offer maybe some stickers or something there. I know a lot of people usually have Etsy, but I think Ko-Fi is really cute and really useful. It kind of creates a blend between Etsy and what Patreon offers. So I appreciate everyone's support. And now over to the reveal. So I really like how this turned out. The textures are really nice. The marker and the colored pencil definitely play very well together. And I'll definitely be practicing this more in the future. Thanks everyone for watching. If you enjoyed this video and seeing my process, I'd love if you could like and subscribe. Comment if you have any questions and all of that normal YouTube stuff.